In this trade breakdown, I'll show you a top reversal sell trade that I took on the S&P 500 using Bookmap. The price came into the resistance, the order flow shifted, the buyers got trapped, and the trade paid around $500 in a matter of minutes. I'll break down the full analysis, the Bookmap confirmation, and how I timed the entry and the exit. So let's get right into it. All right, so let's start off with the analysis of this trade. As you can see, this is the entry that I took right here at the 46s. I actually had a 6-point stop loss. 5 points would have worked as well, but I had a 6-point stop loss. I wanted to give the trade a little bit more room, give it a little bit of space above these highs right here, in case it would sweep these highs very closely and then reverse. So let's look at the higher time frame and look at the context of the market. So here was a trade. This is the sell that I took, and you can see that I didn't hit full TP. So I took partials along the way down, and I'll explain to you why now in a second, why I targeted what I targeted and why it didn't get hit fully. So on the higher time frame, we had this balanced range here on the S&P for quite some time, right here, and below these lows of the balanced range, we had some highs right here that were very significant. As you can see, multiple drops, very aggressive drops to the downside from this level. So I had this level marked out. It was on the H4, I think, even. So yeah, we had these H4 highs here that you can see was clear resistance, and then it got broken and it got tapped here, retested multiple times. So this level was getting respected on both sides, both for sells and for longs. And then it broke again. So that's why I was looking for a retest here and a short opportunity. Okay, so we had these lows right here, which obviously this is the H4 time frame, so this was support, previously resistance, and now that I broke the support again, this was potential resistance for me as the support got broken very aggressively. That's why I was looking for a short squeeze to the downside. Overall, I was more bullish, so this is my first mistake, that I was more bullish for the day than bearish. We also had CPI right here, that had a bullish reaction, but obviously even if my bias is still bullish, that doesn't mean that I cannot get a short squeeze here. And this is what I did, but then unfortunately I didn't really think in the moment that my bias was strongly bullish, so I should have had a little bit of a closer target, but everything's good. Still made over $500 on this trade, as I took partials on the way down, and I only left one contract remaining to hit my full TP, which it didn't hit in the end. And if it would have been $130, $140 extra just with this one contract, as it was still a over 25 point move. But anyways, that's fine. It's part of the game. So the reason I targeted what I wanted to target right here, which was the low of day. Okay, so not the lowest point of the day, but the lowest point of the market open session, of the real trading hour session. So obviously the market opens here at my time at 3:30, which is Europe time, and this was the lowest point. So this was my full TP, and when the trade went into my direction at the 30s, this is where VWAP was. Okay, well, sorry, it was actually at the 32s. So at the 32, at this moment of time, VWAP was right there. So I decided to take half of my position off at VWAP, and then we also had another strong bid sitting at the 30s, which you'll see on the Bookmap. And this is where I took the remaining contracts off, and I just left one running to low of day. Okay, and obviously it didn't get there, and it completely reversed from there. But now at the 25s, as you'll see on the Bookmap in a second, at the 25s right here that just got tapped, there was a massive bid setting. So I was doubting, while I already took profits over here at the 32s and the 30s. I was doubting, should I just get out here at the 25s right here, which just got tapped, or should I leave it at low of day? And I decided to leave it at low of day, as it was only one contract remaining. So this is why it's good to think about the overall context of the market. Remember your bias, because sometimes while you're in a trade, you might forget some things. So my bias was overall bullish, and if I would have remembered, okay, actually bias could be a lot stronger today, I maybe would have gotten out here at the 25s fully and would have had an extra, around $100. But anyways, it's just part of the game. This was my plan. and it didn't work out fully. It worked out obviously for the most part, as I took profits at the 32s and the 30s, which is fine. Made over $500 in literally a matter of less than 10 minutes since I entered the trade right here, and I got out well at the 32s and the 30s. So in a matter of minutes, less than 10 minutes, I made over $500. So great trade. Just unfortunate that it didn't hit my full TP. So let's go down now to the Bookmap and show you the entry and confirmation and also the bits that were sitting here at these 30s and the 25. So price here, enter our level, and let's hit play. Speed it up a little bit. So what I really want to see here on the Bookmap is consolidation when it's in my area of interest, consolidation on the Bookmap, with then a move to the downside, and ideally with heavy buyers like this getting trapped and not being able to push the price further up. Okay, this would be the absorption. And then after that, I would like to see it drop to the downside with heavy selling. Okay, and this consolidation range would be a range that I would mark out then, and I would just wait for price to return into that range. So here you can see when price comes into our level, we have a lot of heavy buying right here with 186 contracts and 113 contracts, and it's not pushing the price further up. As you can compare with previous bubbles here, you see aggressive buying, and it's pushing the price further up. And here, all of a sudden, something happens, right? The heavy buyers cannot go any further. Then it starts consolidating, ranging for a little bit. And then we see aggressive sellers step in and do a move to the downside. So I would mark out this range right here as my area of interest within my area of interest on the candlestick chart. And then I would just wait for price to retrace into that level, into this Bookmap range. And then I would just wait for the entry confirmation, which would be very similar to what we're seeing here, which would be heavy buying, getting trapped, and heavy selling stepping in, or also weaker buying on pullbacks. So let's hit play, see what happens. So we have this consolidation, we have this move to the downside, and now we're only waiting for price to return into my range and look for an entry confirmation. I have to say, lately, the Bookmap in December has been a little bit more trickier to read, as it's a little bit less volatile and moving a little bit slower. Obviously, this isn't twice the speed, so this would be the actual speed of the market on the Bookmap. So, if you use the Bookmap, in November, we had a lot of volatile days, and that was just beautiful. Everything was moving very quick and very clean, and now everything's just moving a lot slower and just many bubbles compressed together. So here already we have this aggressive sellers, a lot of aggressive sellers move to the downside with a pullback with weaker buying. So this could have been a good entry at the 46s. I did enter at the 46, but I didn't enter on this confirmation. I wanted to see a better confirmation first. So I wanted to see these heavy buying step in and not being able to go further. So here again, buyers failed with a quick pop to the downside. So now if we have a retrace with weaker buying, this is where I would get in, and still we don't see that. We still see aggressive buying, again, getting trapped and not being able to push the price further up with a nice move to the downside. So here already, I'm quite interested because I've seen multiple pops into this range getting failed. So we had this small one right here. This was an aggressive pop. It was just very slow, weak buying with aggressive selling with a move to the downside, which is not what I really like to see. I like to see more aggressive pops getting failed. So you can see this pop and failed, and then another pop, and then failed even better. So for me, after I see this pop with heavy buying into my range of interest failing with a move to the downside, and then we see this little retrace here with weaker buying and aggressive selling stepping in, this is where you can enter. And this is exactly where I enter here at the 46s. And since this entry is to the lower side, as I ideally would like to enter a little bit higher over here, I use a wider stop loss. So my stop loss was 6 points. I entered at the 46. My stop loss was here at the 52s, which was above previous highs that we had over here. As you can see, this was at the 50.25s. So my stop loss was at the 52s, so a little above that. Obviously 5 points would have worked as well, but you cannot know that in advance. So, I'd rather use a little bit bigger stop loss, which was 6 points in this case, to, give the trade a little bit of breathing room. So my entry was right here at the 46s, which was pretty clean. Obviously, a more aggressive entry would have been right here at the 46.50s when this pullback happens, and then you see, weak buying and aggressive selling step in. But then, well, this one pretty quick to be honest. So, I had to enter a little bit later, which was at the 46s, and my stop loss was 6 points. So I'm fine with having just an entry like literally a couple seconds too late, which is fine. So then my full target for this, and yes, we will have still some consolidation here. Took some time. We had a drop to the downside here, which was nice. Still didn't go break even. It was taking its time here a little bit for a couple of minutes before the actual drop happened. So my target for this trade was the low of day. And the low of day was, let's take a look here at the low of day. So the low of day was right here at the 20.75. So this was my target right here. Actually, the 20.50s was my target. So if we look at the 20.50s right here, you don't really see any bids yet, as this can still change, obviously. There was a bid sitting here at the 30s, which is where I decided to take partials, and obviously VWAP in this moment of time of the trade was at the 32s. So let's just hit play and see what price does, as the drop will happen now. Speed it up a little bit for you guys. So it's still taking its time, retracing to my entry. Came to my entry a couple times, right here, one more time. And I was just patiently waiting. There was quite some volume being built up. Then a nice drop happened here. Here I was already 6, 7, 8 points in profit. This is when I finally moved my stop loss to break even, when we had this break of structure of this low. And obviously, now that my stop loss at break even, I'm pretty chilled mentally, as it can be a losing trade. Then here at the 32s, almost there. A lot of bids here as well. So at the 32s we had VWAP. This is where I took half off of my trade. And then at the 30s, at this bid right here, this is where I took more contracts off, right here, right now. And then you can see, let's zoom out a little bit. So here at the 25s, there was another bid right here. And my target was here at the 20.50s. And there was also another bid right here, which also made me more confident that price potentially could hit this level right here under low of day. And eventually, obviously, it didn't. So, it was only one contract remaining, so I was fine. I was like, okay, I'm gonna let it run and see if it gets there. But obviously, these bids here at the 25s were a lot stronger than this bid right here. You can see the difference in size as well. We had around 100 contracts in bid, and here we had less. We had like 60, 70, something like that. So there were obviously a lot more contracts sitting here at the 25s. It was a bigger bid here than at the 20s. So it did go to the 25s, and then it just reversed from there. So you'll see now in a second that it will hit the 25s, and then it will just reverse from there. So this would have been, a nice exit, to be honest, and get some extra gains. And yeah, it just didn't go to my 20.50s target. So yeah, that's a shame. But it is what it is. It's part of the game. And it just flew up from there from the 25s. You can see it tapped it right here, exactly 25s, and then it just very aggressively pumped from there. So this would also actually be a good long trade, a good scalp from the opening range right here. So the market obviously opened right here, and then we had this drop here, and there was a nice consolidation here with trapped sellers and aggressive buyers that stepped in with a nice push to the upside, and then price came literally into this consolidation range with a lot of trapped heavy selling. They couldn't push the price further, and then heavy buying stepped in right here. This would have been a good entry as well, around the 27.5s, 28s, targeting basically high of day. So yeah, still happy with my trade. It was over $500 in literally less than 10 minutes, so can't complain. And this is what's beautiful about the Bookmap and scalping. You can really read the market orders, and it's basically the same patterns over and over again. I know some people are like, this is so confusing, but I'd rather keep it very simple, to be honest. I just use the Bookmap. Obviously, other people use Footprint and the Bookmap, and they look at the cumulative delta as well, and they look at VWAP, and they look at so many things, and it might work for them. For me personally, I just rather stick to one order flow tool where I can pretty much see everything, because all order flow tools, you pretty much see the same thing, just different visually. And you can understand each platform a little bit differently and use it for its own benefits. But for me personally, I just like to use one tool, which is Bookmap, and just master this, as this is more than enough to be consistently profitable if you understand it properly. So I recommend using just one tool at the start and try to dominate it and master it, and then maybe you can add more other flow tools to your toolkit. So anyways, guys, I hope you like this trade breakdown. If you did, make sure to like, subscribe to the channel, and if you have any questions about anything related to Bookmap or how to mark out my levels, etc., trade management, just let me know in the comments down below. So anyways, thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.